Welcome back to Talking with Tiffynee. It has been a while and I am back and I'm excited, especially about today because I am back for my first time since moving to Dallas. And I'm just really excited about what God's been doing and what all of the good things and happening in my life. And I'm excited about my guest today because she is wonderful. But just to start and give some background, I have moved from Washington. I am now residing in Houston, Texas. And I'm super excited. My family is doing very well and we are loving it. And today's topic is self-acceptance. And like how I start off all lives and all podcast topics, I will start with reading a page from the book about this. It's called Distance Made the Cognitive Dissonance Grow Fonder. One night, my husband and I got into an argument about whose turn it was to cook dinner, pre our weekly schedule that was created. Since I was the majority stakeholder in the kitchen during this time, my temporary and unstable emotions took over during the argument. I felt the debate had no just cause. I thought and assumed since I was the jury, judge, and the executioner in my household, I decided it was case closed. My thought process was that if I have to cook, no one will eat. You see what I did right there? I just painted a picture for you to see that I made myself the judge. I hopped on the seek validation scene, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or any social media, and I began to peruse as I usually do. But this day was different. You see, I was perusing social media and I saw a quote that said, "You don't know what you got until it's gone." Me, you damn right, he'll starve. Seek validation scene, a cute picture with some random social media ad, and then boom, another side. Seek validation scene, sponsored, Pisces horoscope. Jupiter is nearing the scene, and today will be the beginning of a new beginning. And set firm boundaries. That post confirmed I shouldn't cook. I should let them starve. That will teach them. I need to be appreciated in this house. So I reposted it on my page. And if I only choose to see things my way, it leaves me looking at everything through my own lens, which can be a limited lens depending on outside influences. My perspective kept me locked in a place of bitterness and self-righteousness. Perhaps some of you are reading this or hearing this and might feel sympathy for my husband and children. Most may even suggest that I should have softened my spirit and fed my lovely family. P.S. You're right. There is always a better way to handle things. Drum roll, please. Social media does not have all the answers to all life's challenges. Quite possibly, none of what I was seeing were signs at all. It's the law of attraction. You see, my energy can attract things that make me feel validated at the moment based on how I'm feeling. Also, it has in what you follow. If you follow pages that limit your ability to think outside the norm versus following pages that allow you to learn and deposit good things in you, you can determine your thought process. It is easy to find yourself in a situation like this. You have the right to feel wrong or disadvantaged because of your title. For example, mine: wife, fiance, mom, sister, friend, and even all the men roles. My purpose is pointing this out is to show you that just because you feel like this doesn't mean that it isn't accurate or worth it. Sis, is it worth it to be mad about this? Can you figure out not to be in this situation again? Cognitive dissonance, the state of having an inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. Becoming fully aware and being accountable for your choices is the key to living a healthier mental lifestyle. Give yourself permission to recognize and accept that we all suffer from cognitive dissonance at times. Sis, me choosing to not feed my family didn't benefit anyone, including me. It is rare that one can go to bed with guilt of knowing that they hurt someone and not trying to fix it. If you don't experience that, please read this book twice. Everybody, you can get my book online at sisasyou.com. I'm about to introduce the wonderful Taylor Boles. And I picked Taylor because she's got a soft spot in my heart. I don't know what happened, and somebody actually placed it there. And we decided to have a conversation on self-acceptance. So I'm going to bring Taylor in, and everybody welcome Taylor.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to see you. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you are here. I'm so happy that you're here. So let me tell you guys about Taylor. Taylor is the host of Tailoring Your Life podcast. This podcast is created to equip, empower, and encourage every listener to tailor their own lives to God's specific purpose for them. Woohoo! Yeah. So join Taylor Boles every week in the real fun and authentic conversations about navigating life, relationships, identity, and much more. Taylor, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So that part was about my podcast. It's about a few months old. It's an endeavor that I started late last year, and it's been amazing. I haven't recorded anything new. Season 1 is out, available to stream. Season 2 is in the works and coming very, very soon. But when I'm not podcasting, my day job, I'm a project manager and executive assistant for a leading consultant, and it's awesome, a fantastic job, which kind of plays into our conversation today. But I'm 25 years old, live in Washington State, in Tacoma. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, granddaughter, friend. So yeah, it's fun. I play a lot of different roles, but overall, really fun.
And I've heard nothing but great things about you.
Oh, thank
literally,
you.
Honestly, and it's so funny. Just even last night, I was talking to somebody, and I was like, they were like, I didn't know that you knew the Boles family, and I was like, yeah. And she was like, their older sister Taylor, do you know her? And I was like, that's the one on the show. They're like, she's so amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's so
and I'll tell
funny.
you who that person is after the show, but I don't even know if she's friends with your sister. And so,
I don't know.
A small world.
It is. It really is. I feel like the more we live life, the more we're finding out just how small the world is. Right. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So today we were talking about self-acceptance, and I want to give the definition of acceptance first, because a lot of times we put self in front of a word and we remove the definition that it means.
Absolutely.
Because once it becomes to self-love, self-care, self-restoration, self-acceptance, self-ignorance, it self means I limit it to the ability that I'm able to see.
That's good. That's good. And so true. So
I want people to understand that when you place yourself in front of a word, it still has all access to its definition. It is not limited based on what you limit it to. Yeah. So the definition of acceptance is the action of consenting to receive or undertake something offered. So the way I look at it as when I accept something, my hands have to be open.
Yeah.
And so if my hands are closed, I can't accept it, right? I mean, I can do this, but chances are nobody walks around holding anything.
Exactly.
And so when I look at it and I add self in it, I put in there, what do I allow myself to accept?
Yeah.
And what things have I refused? What things have I held on to that no longer belong to me or never belonged to me in the beginning?
Yeah.
And so I wonder that. So when you think about self-acceptance, what do you look at it as things like for you?
Yeah. Well, I actually looked it up myself too, because like self-acceptance, or like you use example, self-love, self-appreciation, those are common words that we're using a lot today. But also not really knowing what they actually mean. And so I looked it up, good old Google. It said pretty much what you notified, like acceptance of all attributes that are positive and negative. But then I also added like that are also truthful or also false. So self-acceptance, like you said, is pretty much what you yourself are limiting yourself to accepting, receiving, or even pushing against or rejecting. For me, it also boils down to like self-image. How do I see myself? What do I believe is worth me, or what I'm worth, what belongs to me? And in that filter is truly what self-acceptance can kind of filter through. But if that isn't healthy, I'm accepting all the things that are lies, that are negative, that I'll believe that actually is mine. And they come from people who also have a terrible self-image too. So they are self-accepting the same lines, just putting them on different people. But if it's healthy, I can then take like feedback, constructive feedback, where it's like, hey, you're possibly like living outside of your realm or what you're aligned to. Maybe you should work on it. It's like, okay, great. I can receive that because I know that that's not who I am. So I can adjust properly. But also I can receive compliments and receive the truths and the positive things about myself, hopefully, that aren't arrogant or boast my pride or anything like that.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I love that you said that you're sitting up there and there's so many things that people will hand you negatively. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I've recognized about us as a society is we're quick to pick up things that don't belong to us.
Exactly. Exactly. Whatever, like Susie may be dealing with, whatever in her life, and she's putting it on to me or on social media. Like, I have to say, social media is a fantastic tool. Like, if you use it well and you use it to, pour into people and give life to people, but it can also be very detrimental. People love hiding behind the keyboard, spewing out everything onto you, and it can be pretty fragile. And so, like they say, hurt people, and unfortunately, they've accepted lies about themselves, and now they're trying to, put it onto you. So, absolutely,
Right. And it's so funny that you say that because I like to give this analogy. A lot of people don't even recognize that you're able to get hurt when
mm-hmm.
you don't have a case on.
Yeah, yep.
Right. And so, like your phone, I see a lot of people that don't protect this.
Oh, I'm not one of them.
They, they pay a lot of money for this and they don't protect it. Right.
Yeah.
And to me, God is like a case.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
A strong one.
A strong case. He's like an OtterBox.
Yeah.
And what people don't recognize is about a case is that even though it gets dropped, God prevents it. There's a shock absorbent.
Absolutely.
And so and I feel like that's the cross that you bear.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great analogy. That's fantastic.
And so I was telling my family member today, they were struggling with something, and I said, "No weapon formed against us shall prosper."
Mm-hmm.
But it says the weapon shall be formed. Right?
Yeah.
So the weapon is ground. The weapon is anything that is going to affect this, right? But it says that it shall not prosper. When this shatters, this doesn't mean that it's over. It still works.
Yeah. Exactly. It just now you need to take it to the shop.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's so funny is when you take it to the shop, majority of people I feel like don't want to take this to the shop because it's not shattered, because I see a lot of people with broken screens.
Yeah.
They've accepted that their phone is broken.
Yeah.
Right? But what I recognize is they also have accepted that they don't want to let go of the things that they don't know how to transfer over from this.
Exactly. And it's expensive. So whatever, like sticking with the phone analogy, I know I need to get it fixed, but what it's going to cost me to actually go through the process of getting it fixed, it might, I'm okay with just sitting with how it is and not wanting it to be any better, although it's going to be better, but it just costs too much more than what I have, so I'm okay with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're not willing to pay the price, but it's so funny that we will accept this and this, and we'll feel like this is all that we deserve to accept.
Exactly.
Right? I see so many people, and including, I'm actually preaching to myself. My daughter has a cracked screen right now.
So she's like, "Mom, you just told all my secrets."
And she's had it for a long time. And because she does not really value this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She has this, but when you don't value this, you don't care about this.
Yeah. Our parents would tell us the same thing. I don't know if it was a cool thing to show that your phone was cracked or not, but yeah, we had cracked screens all the time, and we would have just a cute case. It didn't protect it, so it didn't have actual value. It was just really cute. But then when it came to cracking it, it's like, well, do you actually know how much it's going to cost to repair it? It's like, no. Well, then you didn't value getting the right case in the first place. But,
right.
Yeah.
And the cute case is your friends that you hang around with.
Yes. Yeah.
The cute case is the people that you're comfortable with. The cute case is the habit or the addictions that you have that create a temporary relief, which is, oh, look at her phone, it's cute.
Yeah.
Right? And not even recognizing that God is not meant to be cute.
No. Nope. He's functional. It's for a purpose. It's for long lasting, long term, no returns, no take backs.
Right. And I think sometimes we don't even realize that we have the choice to accept all of everything.
Yep.
But we limit ourselves because when you accepting, you then start hoarding.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's what ends up a lot of people hoard their past, their
Mm-hmm.
feelings, the things that people have done. I'm guilty of this, the current things that
Same.
are happening, you just hoard it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I once again, I was just telling a family member this morning, Isaiah 43:18 and
Yeah.
19, I'm going to
Yes.
be creating something new in you,
Yes.
and it won't be familiar from what you're looking at. So if you,
Yeah.
it won't, he said, forget the past.
Forget what's past. Forget all that you know, for I am making something new. I just have to say, the fact that you brought up that verse, that's actually my verse for the year. And me and my best friend were just dissecting it this morning. So it's like, it's incredible. Like, and oh my gosh, wow, that's such a God thing.
That is so cool. I literally was saying that, and I was just saying that even when accepting things, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you won't even accept stuff because it's new to you.
Yeah. And new is scary.
And new
New
is
is
scary.
scary. It's uncertain. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know how it's going to come, how it's going to be delivered, but also how it's going to affect what you already have. It's like, it's uncomfortable. No one likes to be uncomfortable, but we like to want new things and great things that's going to push us to something new. Okay, but do you know what that actually means, what that actually entails? And that's frightening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then what I feel like it pushes us into is that because you become so resistant
Yeah,
from newness, right? You then push yourself into cognitive dissonance where you then have
absolutely.
inconsistent thoughts and beliefs
Yes.
and attitudes toward things. So then it's like, this is not true. Feeding my family.
Yeah.
Why would I think that was, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Since it felt good, like in my mind, where it was like, I'm not, like in my body and in my action, but it made no sense. It was an inconsistent thought
Yes.
compared to how I felt in the past of how I might have felt used and
Mm-hmm.
abused and stuff like that, where nobody values me and stuff like that. But it's also the things I've also accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I love what Paul talks about in Romans about cognitive dissonance, where he says, like, hey, I do what I shouldn't and I don't do what I should. So and what it's very refreshing to see that in scripture because, like, okay, I'm not the only one that goes through this on the daily. Sometimes it could be with the most simple things, but also when it comes to self-acceptance, it could be the most detrimental things. Like, for example, we all love, as of right now, like the look of beautiful relationships, of the aesthetic couple and things like that. And for someone who's like, well, I know, like, I want the husband that's God fearing, that's loving, that will honor me and respect me and yada yada yada. But I'm dating, or I'm gonna accept, like, a bum because I'm lonely. Because I'm lonely, he doesn't treat me well, he doesn't honor my boundaries or respect who I am, how I'm following the Lord, and he pressures me into something. But I'm lonely. I know I shouldn't do that. I know I shouldn't want that because I know what the Lord has for me and what he's called me to do, but I'm doing the total opposite. It's and it's normal. It's not it's often, it's frequent. We always do it with simple things, but also with major things. But I also think it comes down to taking our time and being completely unashamed and completely confident and knowing that this is who I am, this is what I want, this is who the Lord has called me to be and who he says I am. Sometimes who he says I am has to trump who I say I am. I don't know some days. It's like, you know what? This isn't going so great. So, Taylor, you're just not on your game today, girl. Go take a seat. It's fine. But the Lord is like, no, like, yes, it's okay to have an off day, but this is still who you are. You may not feel it, you may not believe it, but what I say has to trump what you think or what you feel to kind of buffer out that cognitive dissonance. I love that.
You're absolutely, and you know what's so funny? I love that you did that because that's a nice segue into seeking validation.
Yes.
And so what happens is that when you seek validation from the wrong people, which was social media, instead of
Yeah.
seeking validation from God, and what Paul also says in Romans is that he has constant conversations with God. And a lot of people have, I used to even feel this way where I was like, God, why do I have to ask you about everything? Like, hey, like you gotta know all that. Like you
Yeah.
want me to do all that, right? But yet I call
Yes.
my girl and give her the breakdown of all what happened this week.
Everything.
You know what I'm
Everything.
saying? So I'm just like, God is saying, so I even say this to people that sometimes people will say, God told me to do something. And then I'll be like, did you keep talking to him throughout that? Did you get updates through that, or did you say, my mom does this all the time? God told me. What else did he tell you? What did he tell you on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday? Because he didn't just tell you one thing. It's those
Yeah,
infinite conversations that you have, and then a
so
lot of
good.
people get to that point where they talk a lot to God. So
Yes.
you don't even seek validation, you're talking. So you're proving your point to God sometimes. So there are people that will go to God, but then be
Yeah.
like, well, God, see right here in the scripture, it says, thou shalt not, da 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 da, and train up a child in the way he should go.
Yeah.
And they start quoting all this stuff, and God said, can you
Hmm.
hear me?
Yes. Yes. Like,
Can you hear me through the
yes.
validation that you are seeking? Because
Yeah.
when you're seeking something, you have to actually see it and be able to identify it. You can't
Absolutely.
just be like, I see a bird, there's a bird, da, 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 da. You have to observe the bird to make sure that it's even the bird.
Absolutely. Like that. And that's, I think, a discipline that I'm currently learning, especially in my prayer time. Like, and sometimes like, oh, how, conversate with God, talk to God. It's like, okay, but like making it practical, a conversation goes two ways. So it's like, Lord, I'm writing in my journal, Lord, this is what I want, this is what I hope for, I thank you for this, thank you for that. Okay, now let me get to my need, and then that's it. And then it's like, wait, make room for me to answer what you're asking me, or make room for me to either like direct you in a way in my word that guides you, to like gives you some clarity, or also just listen to me throughout the day. Like, it doesn't have to just be in that one sitting, but if you want him to answer it, listen. Like, but it's way easier said than done, and it's an intentional thing. Going back to like Isaiah 43, where he says like, do you not see it? And I was like, why did you use the specific word like see it? Because I feel like see and look they're often used interchangeably, but they don't mean the same thing. Where it's like, oh, look at that, where I'm looking at it and I can observe this is a lamp. But seeing it takes way observing it. What am I meant to see in this? There's a reason why you're having me see it. And then what is that? I need to take my time with it. So when it comes like, I kind of went on a tangent. I kind of forgot where we
Oh
left
no,
off.
you're good, you're good, you're good.
Again, with the making room for the Lord to validate you, or to use you as a tool to possibly validate others. I personally, I've become more of a word of affirmations person as I've gotten older. Usually, I don't even know what my love language was before. I don't know, but now I'm a words of affirmation. And it's not so much of validating, like, oh, who am I? Tell me who I am. Like, tell me I'm great. Tell me I'm awesome. But it's more out of correction, or consistent check in. It's like, remind me, how am I doing? How am I doing, like aligned with the Lord? Because the ultimate validation is with God. My own validation doesn't count. Like, it doesn't count at all. But I'm solely validated in the Lord. He made me, he created me, he knows my ins and outs, he's made me perfectly and fearfully made. So any other validation is voided, or it's not voided, but it shouldn't hold the same value that his does. It should more, yeah, it should complement it, or it should be a supplement adding to what he already says I am. And unfortunately, I there's so many opinions that we take as validations of who we are. And it's all out of seeking someone to either love that person, they're seeking love, they want attention, they need validation. It might look like in the worst ways through social media, by a terrible comment, or people just being bullies out there. But at the root of it, they're not getting what they're seeking out for, which is, I want someone to see me and love me and know me. But because I'm not getting that, I'm a get on someone who is. And it's so hard. It's so hard nowadays. It takes swallowing the pride to just like, Lord, I can say some things right now, but you say this is the woman that I am, so I won't. So I'm gonna pray for that person. But validation is it's a sensitive one. It's a sensitive one.
You're right, and I would attach currency on there, and I'll
Yeah.
say this as a lot of us have currency. We know what currency
Mm.
is, like it's a form of paying something, right? And we have money, we have time, we have energy, we have
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, or whatever. A lot of us it's kind of like when you go to a certain place and you'll get mad, like at a food truck, and they're like, cash only.
Yeah.
You don't take
What you
card?
mean?
Cash only, right? Because it makes the transaction easier,
Yeah.
and that's their limit, that's their boundary. They don't want to deal with all the other things.
Yeah.
Some of us need to understand that we need to be able to only accept certain currencies, so
Yes.
people only can pay for us with the word of God.
Yes. Yes.
Only,
Yes.
you can only come at me and tear me down or whatever if you're applying the currency of truth. And a lot of
Yes.
people can't even afford that currency because
Mhm.
they love fake money.
It's easy to get. It looks the same at face value, and so many people won't even take a second look at it. It's like, oh, that's what it is. If you look deeper, the details between the fake and the real, man, that's good. That's good.
And and even just to add this, and a lot of us don't even understand that some of us are seeking validation from the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so, and when you're doing that, it's because you're searching for the currency that you're like, I accept ATM checks. People can
Yeah.
write bad checks, right?
Yeah.
And so you accept all these forms of payment when God is saying, you don't accept that anymore. That's not what you
Yeah.
require. I've upgraded you to another level of currency. And I feel like sometimes, even for myself, all of a sudden it seems like people are like, oh, all of a sudden Tiffynee loves God. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I had to tell somebody, I said, what's been really uncomfortable about my validation seeking is,
Mm.
is that I immediately went to seek people that had been inviting me over to the house, right? So think about this:
Yeah.
you should come to church, you should be a Christian, you should follow the
Yeah.
Lord. I finally go knock on that person's doorstep, and these are plethora of people, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not as welcoming as they were when the
Mm.
invitation was sent out.
Mm.
And
That's
so
real.
now I've got a distortion of thoughts of my currency is wrong. And so
Yeah.
now I've changed, like, and now I'm like, well, isn't this what I'm supposed to pay or whatever? So then I go back to
Mm-hmm.
something, which is maybe my family or the guy or whatever, a
Yeah.
friend I'm not supposed to be messing with. And now I'm using fake money because that's what gets me access
Yes.
to something.
Yeah.
And I think people
So
have to
good.
understand that when you are a Christ follower and you are inviting people in, the invitation should always stand open.
Yes. Yes. Always.
Your posture of your
Always.
heart should always be inviting. It
Yeah.
always should be supportive and encouraging and things like that. And it shouldn't be limited on, well, you were out on the street before now, because now I'm seeking validation of God's glory.
Yes.
And I won't be able to see that through you
Through.
if you're the
Mm-mm.
one that invited me, saying that you had it or you saw it or
Yeah.
you point me to it and stuff like that. So I feel like sometimes the seek validation scene also is like Hansel and Gretel, where you go to the house with the witch with all the candy and stuff like that, and you are tricked
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
like, this is what I desire because I'm hungry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look, like they say, it's bad to go to the store hungry. Yeah,
I've
because
ran out of
you're
things to buy
blinded.
my way back home, and I'm hungry, and now I'm
Yeah.
anything that desires my need, and we have to be careful with
Yeah.
that. And
Oh,
and
so good.
it sucks because people don't understand. Like, I'm so glad I'm strong minded because I
Yeah.
can't imagine when I was going to people's houses, right,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually, and being like, "What took you so long to get here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's just that feeling of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we're seeking validation, there's a lot of things happen. Sometimes you'll hear what you want to hear, you'll hear what you need to hear,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll hear absolutely what you're not supposed to hear from the same people that God has sent in your way that He has told you to seek validation from, right?
Yes.
The validators, because then you got the validator group.
Mm-hmm. We all know who that group is.
Yes.
We all have a group. We all have a group, and that is so good. And man, if I like as a younger woman, but even like younger women now, like hearing that in anything, like again, I'll speak to, relationships right now because I feel like that's just kind of the standard. If you're in a relationship, you've made it. But no one asks if it's a good one or not. Like you're just in it. It's like I'm struggling, but you got a man, you got a good one. It's like you don't know him. You don't know him like I know him. However, again, like the validation, who you're seeking to get validation from, or the group that is supposed to, like, validate you, support you in the way of the Lord. And then when you're trying to walk on the straight and narrow and you're sticking to what, I won't say the standards, but when you're walking his way, and then all of a sudden you get those, oh, so now you're all high and mighty, your standards are so high. And it's like, wait, what do you mean? Wait, I thought we were all on the same page here. Like, I thought what validated that I'm doing good is according to what scripture says, that I don't compromise in these areas. Like, I keep him first. Like, I, stray away from these temptations and things like this. It's like, well, if you didn't, do you really have to stick like that hard? Like, man, like, loosen up a little bit. It's like, okay. And then when you do, because of you're trying to get validation from that one group that you thought you trusted, that, you walked with, that you spent a lot of time with. Sometimes we also confuse time with people. Like, I trust them because I spend a lot of time with them. But trust is actually how much, like, vulnerable information are we sharing with each other. Like, I have close friends. Like, I have, a good number of friends, but I also have, like, core friends that I know that I trust with certain things. And that's something that takes time. So when you have a whole group or just random people that's saying, oh, you should be, with that person, or you should go for this job because it has these certain benefits. But but it lacks what's very important to me. But because, okay, I guess that's what I should do because everyone's saying that that's something I should do. I need validation with that. Like, that, if I get that job, if I get that relationship, then that's securing what I think or I believe I know is about myself. I accept that, but it's not exactly what the Lord has. It's a counterfeit, like the fake money. It looks just like it, but the substance, what it's made of, those details that not many people pay attention to, but about it. The detail that is in it that has God's seal on it, but the seal might look a little wonky here or there, but you'll accept it because it looks just good enough. Like, God doesn't want just good enough. He wants you to have the best because he is the best and he has the best for you. And I think too often there's so much pressure. Pressure is okay when it's applied. But like you said, if you're not strong-minded, or if you're not strong in who the Lord has planted you as, what he's rooted you in, the pressure will overtake you every time. And then we'll get upset at the people who's applying the pressure. It's like, well, it's your job to say whether or not that's going to go or not. Those people will then adjust according to you. It's taking ownership of what you will accept and what you won't.
I think it's funny that you said that because accountability for some reason equals pressure to people.
Yes.
When they hear pressure, accountability, they hear pressure. What? Why you all on me? Why you da da da? And it's like, why am I holding you accountable? I always tell people, why am I holding you accountable to something that you said you wanted to do?
Yes. Yeah.
I have people that'll come to me and they'll say, I didn't want to get counseled. I didn't want to have a counseling session. Do you know what a counseling session is? It's you seek advice.
Exactly.
So if you're coming to me and you don't want me to tell you anything, you have to remember that you sought it first, then told me you didn't want it.
Exactly. It's like, well, I hear it a lot. It's like, I'm coming to you like about my problem and I'm gonna just say all of this. And then it's like, so what do you want me to do with it? It's like, oh, well, I just want to talk about it. What? It's like, well, now, okay. And then you'll go about the problem. It'll get worse. And like, why didn't you tell me I shouldn't have done it? It's like, you didn't want the counsel. You didn't want the advice. Yes. It's like, hold on. But also it's like, you came to me knowing that it's like, I'm happy that it's a safe place, that I'm a safe place, that I'm someone that you trust with that. But you also know that as a friend or as an accountability partner, as someone who's supposed to be walking life with you, my responsibility isn't like for you. Like, I'm not responsible for your actions. I'm just responsible in giving you the proper information, the proper guidance that I would want in return, because I trust you in that way. But if you're just going to leave me hanging, keep me going around the same problem, what are we here for?
Absolutely. And then that gets into my last point, is be the benefactor. And I feel like a lot of people will get in situations and they always want to be the beneficiary. right? You always want to benefit from something. What am
Yeah.
I getting? What am I getting out of this? Who's doing this? Who's doing that,
Yeah.
right? And you have to recognize that every time that God places you in something, it's always to heal someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the time, it's to heal a multitude of people. But you
Mm-hmm.
can limit what happens to you and how many people it actually affects in a good way. Because the Bible says,
Absolutely.
whatever the devil meant for evil, God meant for
You'll
good.
make it for
And so,
good.
whatever is happening,
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to flip it. And so many people don't even recognize that they're the antidote.
Yes. 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 There's a reason why he says there's power in the blood of the Lamb and the power of your testimony. Like without your testimony, what God meant to move forward, the people that he has waiting on you, it won't happen if we don't share it, if we're not putting ourselves in positions. And it hurts. Like sometimes it's sad, but it's real that it'll have like you'll be the sacrificial lamb, or you'll be the person on the chopping block for this reason. But in the end, like it's for your good, and it won't just be for you. It's not a selfish thing. It's supposed to be multiplied through you. You're the reason why, and showing God's testimony through it. But it's like we gotta rejoice and be like, I always feel like there's some level of a void and rejoicing over people's testimonies, even while they're in it, not like after it's done, the trial's over, but in the midst of it, like reminding them, reminding ourselves, it's like this is meant for something. Like the Lord, you will never forsake me, you will never leave me. Your plans are to prosper me for a future. So this has to be for something. Like it's painful right now,
Absolutely.
but yeah.
Absolutely. I have to tell a story because you just unctioned me to
Yeah.
tell the story because we were talking about it prior to us getting home, and I did think I was
Yeah.
going to share this today. Um, so since we moved, we've been dealing with some stuff, and one of the things that my daughter has dealt with since
Mm-hmm.
COVID is a eating disorder.
Yeah.
And so a few weeks ago, I was at a book reading, and some different things happened during the book reading. It was kind of odd, and my daughter got to see how I had to react through adversity, like
Mm.
being kind, and then also seeing my fault and stuff and apologizing. So when we got in the car, she says to me, "Oh my God, like mom, how could people ever think that about you? Like you're just so kind."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I know, but sometimes that's just how they feel." So
Mm-hmm.
we were driving and we get to a restaurant, and I said, "Hey, do you want something to eat?" And she was like, "No." And so then she goes, "Oh my God, mom, I have spiritual bulimia."
Mm.
She said, "Not only will take, I will reach out." She said, "Not only will I eat good food and then throw it up. So when you feed
Mm.
me good stuff
Yeah.
about myself, I'll throw it up." She said, "Then sometimes I won't even take the good food that you're offering."
Mm.
She was like, "So it's not just a physical thing, mom."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Right." And so I was
Wow.
like, "What are you gonna do with that?" So we get home. I'm telling my husband, I'm all excited, and God acts very quickly when you're the
Yeah.
antidote.
Yeah.
So I got home and we eat a little bit, and a lot of people don't know I eat like a bird, so I eat a lot, really
Yeah.
little tiny bits of stuff.
Yeah.
And but I love to eat, and so I eat, and immediately I get sick.
Mm.
I get violently sick, like I am like vomiting, sick.
Yeah.
And my daughter comes in the bathroom and she knocks on the door. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And immediately I hear the Holy Spirit tell me, "Tell her no. Tell her
Mm.
the truth, your testimony."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm not okay." And then God tells me, "When she doesn't eat, you're not going
Mm.
to eat." She doesn't care about her body, but she cares
She'll
about
care
you.
about yours. Man.
And so I was like,
Man.
"Oh my God." So I told her what he said, and then she goes, "Oh my God, mom, I'm going to eat something right now." So she goes to eat, and then I eat something, and she's like, "Mom, you're making me feel bad and all this stuff or whatever." And I said, "Well, don't feel bad because you don't feel bad about your body, so don't put that care on my body if it's not true, if it's not real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't give me counterfeit."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so she's sitting there, and so a day goes by, and I literally could not eat while I literally would get
Mm-hmm.
sick,
Yeah.
and so by day two, she was eating on her own,
Wow.
and now she's eating fine, like she's great.
Wow. Look at
And
God.
one of the things that God showed me was, did you ever think that if I tell you I'm going to use you, it's you that I'm using?
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize that sometimes we don't even realize that when you're the antidote, it doesn't always feel well.
Not at all. Not at all. What's the saying? He doesn't call the equipped, he equips the call.
Yeah.
And again, it goes on to, sometimes it's so hard where we hear about the Lord's grace, even when we didn't deserve it, he gave us grace. And it's greater grace every day. When he says, I'm going to use you, it's like, Lord, I can't accept that. Like I can give you a couple people who I think you could use that'll be very perfect for the situation. I don't have the, yes, I'm a Moses. It's like, okay, the bush is burning. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I don't think you actually know like what's going on. I don't know what, like, I don't know what you're seeing in me right now. But again, it goes back to the cognitive dissonance, but then also what we consider as self-acceptance because of our own limitation. All we see is just us. But then remembering that the Lord sees even deeper. Like the thoughts that we aren't even ready that we're going to think, he already knows them. The words we're going to say, he knows them. He knows our inner parts. And yet we still question, you're going to use me? Like me. And it's like, yes. And for that exact reason, like the reason why you don't believe I can use you is the actual reason why I'm going to use you. And it's like, oh man, I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. And it's always, we transform in that whole process. And like you said, like your daughter sees you, you are like the first example that she sees. And sometimes like, yes, it's for me and it's for others, but even as those closest to us, there's always someone watching.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I don't want them just to see the good parts because that ain't the truth. Like he says, tell her no, tell her the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes the truth hurts, but the truth will also reveal someone else's. Yes. It'll pull that blinder off of them. It's like if we would have said yes, try to keep the facade, man, all the things that could have been left on the table, we'll never know.
I tell people I'm a cover stealer because a lot of times you'll cover up with something that's making you comfortable.
Yes.
Take it off of you, like addiction or lying or self, whatever you got on you, I'm ripping it off. So because you have to be cold to get the right cover.
Yes. So
and
good.
With Jay's thing, I had to realize that I had to be the benefactor. Because when you are the benefactor, when you pay your insurance, you're the one paying. It's your family that gets to reap the benefits.
Yes.
And so the price for me to pay was to be sick.
Yeah.
And because you got a good value, I had to accept what God had given me first.
Yeah. First, it had to come the acceptance first, all the time. And sometimes accepting can take a few days. It's like, let me sit with this. It's like, I heard you, I just need to wrestle with it a little bit. And it's like, and also like, and there are moments where he's like, no, I need it like right now. Like in this moment, there has to be a decision. And it's funny. And then like a few days later, he's like, I'll let you wrestle with it, but my answer's still the same. Like your feelings do not play a factor in this, like at all. Like it's either yes, you'll either obey me or you won't. You will either reap the benefits or you'll reap the consequences, but it won't just be you. There's either going to be casualties or there's going to be other benefactors coming after you.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
And I love it. And I love that you and I both understand, because even where we're at now, we both understand that you have to be able to put stuff down in order to accept new things.
Yes.
And I love, the funny thing is, you said that's your verse for the year. Christine, my friend who's popped on here, one of my biblical sisters, she's the bomb. That's her verse too. And so we go to devotion every day. Monday through Friday, we're in devotion for at least 2 hours a day. That. And she says that she repeats that verse every day and reminds us that, God is creating something new. And just to be open, to what you can see and what you're not used to seeing.
Exactly.
And so in order to be able to be okay with that, you have to be open and willing to receive, guys. And so what Taylor and I are preaching today, we ain't preaching.
Yeah. Many times I'm preaching myself. Shucks, you've been
You
talking to
know,
me this whole time. It's like, oh yes, write this down.
it's strong. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
like, didn't know that, you know.
Yeah.
But then also just recognizing that God is in everything. He's omni.
Everything.
And
Yeah.
so many people think that they'll give the devil so much credit to his
Mm.
lack of omnipresent, but it's you that make his presence present.
Mm. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. So
You know,
good.
and so just reminded to
So
say instead of
good.
saying the devil is the God is amazing, God da 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 da, I
Yeah,
see God, you know, and stuff like that because
exactly.
you can see that better.
Yeah.
Um, Ladies and gentlemen, this is our time.
Yeah.
I am so thankful for Taylor. Taylor, can you
Thank
tell people how they
you.
can follow you and see your listen to your podcast and things like that and
Yeah.
what's coming up for you?
Oh, for sure. So I have Instagram is my only social media. So you can follow me at Taylor_Boles. It's just my name as it's written right here on the screen. That's exactly how it is. And then my podcast, you can stream it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All season one, it's amazing. We're hunkering down on relationships. I got a bunch of guests on there that are amazing. So please check it out and listen. And then season two, it's coming. There's not a specific date quite yet. There's still a few factors that gotta be set first, but very shortly it's coming out. So yeah.
That
But
is
thank
so
you so much for having me. It was such an honor to talk with you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a conference coming up at the end of March called the Sisters at You Conference, Mending Pieces,
Mm-hmm.
Creating Wholeness. I am doing something phenomenal. I am bringing
Yes.
something back that my grandmother used to do, which is the washing of the feet. You
Oh
cannot
wow.
know your clear path if the Lord is the lamp of your
Mm,
feet, if you've been in the mud. So allow
so
me and
good.
some amazing ladies,
So good.
women of God, and I'm trying. Honestly, I would love your grandmother to come out.
Ah.
Women of God to come and cleanse your feet and get your
Mm-hmm.
lamp clear so you can see what
Yeah,
God's will is for your life. I am
absolutely.
here on Sundays, now back. Hopefully, Taylor will be another guest on my show again because she was amazing and we get to do
Oh,
some.
thank you. And you will hopefully be a guest on mine coming up soon. So hey, two different ones. You can get both of us.
Yes. And just ask yourself lately, have you asked yourself lately, sis, is it you? Bro, is it
Mm,
you? What is it
yeah.
about you? And it doesn't have to be bad, but it can be good.
Mm-hmm.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much and have an amazing Sunday.
Thank you.